Good morning, everybody. Good morning, or I could say good afternoon, depending on where you are. Today is July 12th, 2026, and welcome to NanaCrass's Substack. Yes, Truth with Teeth. And I was coming on with somebody else who writes on my site, which everybody knows him as Moon Geezer. And we're going to recap some of the stories that we heard this weekend. And just waiting for him to come up. I'm assuming you guys can hear me okay. Gina and Taran Z1. If you can hear me okay, that'd be great. Oh,
What's
Geezer.
happening?
How you doing?
I am doing great. It was funny. I was over on TikTok waiting for you.
Silly. Oh, goodness. No, I see fingers. There you go.
I was
Hi,
wiping off my screen. I had my phone in my pocket. It looked like it was filled with Ritz crackers.
Aye. Not good. Not good. Anyway, I was just telling everybody that we were going to come on in and just talk about some of the stories we posted this week. But yeah, obviously, the biggest story of today is Senator Lindsey Graham. I noticed you already posted an article about him on the top corner of Substack this morning. So, what do you want to say about Lindsey Graham? I have mine, and you have yours. Let's see what the differences are.
I thought he started out well. Served his country. He was in the Air Force National Guard for 20 years. Started out in the House, did a couple of sessions there, and then has become the senator that we've all loved and hated in South Carolina. And for today, I appreciate his service to his country. I don't always appreciate some of the things that I've felt that he has followed. I would say at the end of his illustrious Senate career that he is not somebody that I looked up and said, God, I'd like to have a few more of him. So he was, so in the 2000s, he was attached at the hip with John McCain. That was his bookend, right? The Maverick. And I thought that they were a good partnership. Post Trump, I think Lindsey sort of looked for a way to be. He's a softer gentleman, but he tried to become a fighter, and I don't know that he held himself in grace during that period. I think he really lost his way, and so I lost respect for Lindsey probably post 2018 ish. Right. So for the last 6 years of an illustrious career, right? He served his country. I appreciate that. But I think he really kind of lost his way in MAGA.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this, and yeah, he started off great. He really did. And then I come to the point of term limits. Being there that long, I don't think is acceptable to anybody. I think the payoffs and the backroom deals and the garbage we have going on in the Senate and the Congress, it just absolutely corrupts people. And I look at Lindsey as a warmonger, yeah, a neocon, somebody I was ready to fight. Yeah. I just over the years just haven't had much respect for the guy, although, he is America first. And I have to give him credit for that. And I have to give him credit for his service, his dedication to the country. But other than giving him credit for dedication to the country and his service, I just don't have, I don't have much to say about him. But I do have a problem with this. This is what my problem is. I mean, we only could go by the news reports we've seen so far this morning, right?
Yes.
He was in Kiev. He was in Ukraine yesterday. Yeah.
Yep.
Day before. He was perfectly fine, perfectly healthy. Yeah. Didn't seem to have any problems or symptoms. Comes back and, kicks the bucket. What did he kick the bucket over? My concern is, was it just a natural phenomenon? I had a heart attack or something happened, or what are we going to know about his death? I just have a feeling there's something not quite right about this, and I'm not sure what it is. Hi, Marine Mom. How are you? Something not quite right about all of this. Yeah.
Lots of room. Yeah. Lots of room for conspiratorial type stuff here. 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. From Kiev to here, coming home. I just have, I don't want to be conspiratorial. I just want to make sure we got all the blood tox reports and we got everything. Did he eat something? Was something given to him? Did he not take some? I just want a little more clarification.
you're 100% correct here that it lends itself to having questions asked, right?
Yeah,
Because of where he was at. So there's
yeah,
no
that's the
question when
only
we,
thing.
yep,
Yeah,
no,
it's the only thing.
Navalny
I mean,
was a,
it could have been just one of those, flukes. It was my day, it was my day. Everybody has a day to be born and a day to kick the bucket, I see. Yeah. Day to be born and a day to die. Maybe that was his day. I don't know. But
agree.
it just seems he was pretty damn healthy the day before. Yeah. So or I should say he looked pretty damn healthy the day before, I don't know. But like I said, I have no, the main thing now is, hate to say it this way, but the main thing now is to get somebody in there that's America first. That's going to be for our country, and make sure we can keep, the people in the Senate that we need. You could have, I mean, I'd like to see Mitch McConnell give up his seat right now as well. And so they can have a special election in Kentucky prior to the election in November. Now you're down on Lindsey Graham. I don't know what the rules are in his state. I hadn't looked them up. Should have looked them up this morning. I didn't look it up. Does the governor get to?
Yes.
The governor does. Okay,
His name's
so
McMaster. Yes.
yeah. Okay. So if it's the same rules there, then the governor gets to pick somebody to get in for his seat, right? But then you also have to put somebody in the seat now to and who's that person going to be? And is he going to be America first? Is he going to be and I hate to use the slogans, but is he going to be Make America Great Again? Is he going to be a Republican? Is he going to be a centrist, middle of the road somewhere? We need to find somebody who's good for the state plus good for America. And that's going to be the challenge.
Yes, you're correct. And here's right. I don't want
Hi, Danny.
Boyd to let anything sit still on this, but let's look past what we obviously know, right? So Lindsey Graham has passed away. So you have the mechanics of the vacancy, and that's something that you just brought up. So under South Carolina law, McMaster is going to appoint a temporary placeholder, and that lasts until January 3rd. Here's why this is weird. Because he just won his primary, and there's an election in November, right? So there's going to be somebody in there. What you mentioned, which is important, is the person that he puts in the placeholder may not be the person that's going to be running for election.
True.
Right? So we have this really weird imbalance. But then the most important part is who was Lindsey Graham in the Senate? And this is a guy, he's serving as chairman of the Senate Budget Committee. That's not a weak stick. Because he was absolutely pro-defense, was going to be the NDAA. He was going to sign off on pretty much anything budget, right? Now, do you have somebody like you were talking about that comes in as America First? Is it MAGA? And the reason that that's important is if you're picking that person as a placeholder, is that the one that's going to be running against the progressive that won her seat or election? So do you know what I mean? So boy, the balls that are up in the air and I say that with no pun intended for Lindsey, but the balls that are up in the air that they're going to have to juggle is picking the placeholder, picking the person that's going to be running for an election, because November's coming whether you want it to or not.
Right.
And you can't lose that seat. So it's time to really get busy on South Carolina. And who's that replacement? Now, Nancy Mace has already thrown her hat in the ring. She just lost her primary, right? Just got trounced. She's already right. Like, let me submit my service. Lindsay's not. Lindsay hasn't been dead for 6 hours. I'd really like to see 24 hours before the Republicans start feeding off the carcass, right? It really would show some, because from everything I've seen on social media today, the one thing that I've been asking people is how about 24 hours? And then you go in and you lambaste the guy. And so what they're talking about is, well, but Trump's Truth Social on Mueller was blah. I'm like, I disagreed with it. I think it was a horrific thing to come out and say something about Mueller in that tone right after his passing. We can all disagree on policy, but how about we just give somebody that served their country 24 hours to just kind of get through the day and then go have your hair on fire.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I just feel sorry for the family,
Yes.
because, he's going to get trounced one way or another, or this way or that way, But like I said, rest in peace. And, but, we need to come to what actually did happen to him, because it's just strange to me that he was perfectly fine in Kiev 12 hours earlier, and 12 hours later, we got a 911 call. So, I just want to make sure everything is checked out, everything is above board, and and then I'll be happy with it.
Yeah,
You know?
Navalny leaves a sour taste in everybody's mouth over what can happen, right? Because the uranium, the little U, I mean, and we laugh about this, right? Somebody
Mhm.
carrying an umbrella comes and pokes you with a little dot, and it's it,
Mhm.
right? A couple
Mhm.
weeks later,
Mhm.
Lindsay's was a little more overnight, right? Which
Yeah.
probably lends to something wasn't nefarious, but
Yeah.
you
Probably.
just yeah, you just don't know. The Cold War was fun to live through, right?
Mhm.
Well,
Mhm.
it was true spy games, and James Bond was created not out of thin air, right?
True.
All that stuff, right? It like
True.
that. So that was some pretty cool stuff.
True.
So Lindsey Graham, rest in peace. Moving on towards, you wrote some great stories, and you do a morning recap.
Mhm.
What was your influence this week? What was your favorite thing that you wrote about? What was the most influential thing that hit you that said, I've got to write this story?
Mhm. I think that was the control infrastructure, the EU digital ID, the kids online, the safety piece I did there. Took a lot of time. Lots and lots of sources to read, to look at. Lots of great information in there for everybody on, what they're trying to do in censoring children's free speech, the ability for children to have free speech. Um, some people look at it one way, some people look at it another way. I look at it as from birth to the day you go 6 foot under, you have free speech, because that's what our First Amendment says. And I am not for censoring children. I am for parents censoring children, yes, and teaching them the differences between right and wrong. But I am not for the government censoring free speech, because our Constitution is clear. And I mean, it is way friggin' clear that it says, you know, we have free speech. And I do not want our children censored. I don't want children censored on what they can see, how they can see, how much they can see. But I do want parents to be parents and learn how to be parents and control the screen time and the things that your children are seeing. There are ways to do that without stifling a child's free speech. So I'm sorry, that's how I feel about it. I think it's wrong in the UK. They did this in the UK about a year or two ago. And it ended up being a shit show, because all the kids figured out if you just use a VPN, you can get what you want anyway. So
Absolutely.
there you go. Now they're doing it in the EU, extending it a little bit more. It's the same thing. But again, it's stifling kids' free speech. And the only reason they're doing this in the UK is they're trying to go after Elon Musk and, and Meta and, Google and the rest of them. Maybe people don't really realize that, the EU put out rules for online speech. Yeah, their digital ID law. And their digital ID law is different from ours. We have free speech. They put in a digital ID law. And TikTok runs off that digital ID law, and it still does to today. And everybody wonders why they're censored, because what they're being censored on is what you're censored on in Europe. And it's not just what you're censored on in Europe, it's the way they have done this. And that digital ID law runs through TikTok. And the reason it runs through TikTok, and the reason it runs through most majority of the rest of the other online programs that you guys use, with the exception of X, is because they want people to see those programs, to get into those programs, to be able to join Facebook and all the other Instagram and all the other software that's out there. And they all are controlled under the European Digital ID Act, which is a suppression of your free speech. TikTok still uses it today. Why is that still in TikTok today?
You know, wow, I was just sitting here going, shit, she just brought me right back into a story that I need to write, and I'll end up doing it today. Um, I don't know why TikTok is running under anything other than Section 230 because they're asking for the same
Mhm.
blanket right protection of Section 230.
Mhm.
And are you familiar with Section 230?
I am.
Okay, so for those that aren't, like back in the 1990s, we used to have what were these little backroom like chat rooms, and people were getting offended by the things that were being said online. Prodigy is the one that got this
I'm going
ball
to stop
rolling.
you right there for just a minute. I just want to say hi to everybody that's
Say it.
coming to listen to us. Hi, Gina. Hi, Dustin. Hi, Marcia. Marine Mom, thank you for the note. Love Dog, Danny, Torbo, and Richard. Thank you very much. Go ahead, Moon. Sorry.
Um, yeah, so those that don't follow Section 230, I'll just keep this brief. The government gave platforms and publishers different roles and where their protections lie. A platform is your social media, and a publisher would be like, call it Fox News, right? In a platform, the government is saying that the platform is not responsible for what you and I put because it's a third party communication, right?
Mm-hmm.
I go
Mm-hmm.
right in there, fuck Trump or whatever,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? The platform is not responsible for what's put out there because they don't do editing, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Editing is the whole position here.
Mm-hmm.
Fox News is responsible for what comes out of their airwaves because they have editors and they choose what comes
Hey,
off of their
William.
they choose what comes off, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, so the blanket protection that they have is that term editing. And I'm really curious that where you see X, Facebook, TikTok, etc., where they're saying what can and cannot be on there, they themselves have become editors now, right? How many
Yes.
times have you been taken down?
Yeah, of
So those
course.
platforms have decided they're going to do editing, and so there's no longer that free reign of ideas, right? And Ted Cruz did a really eloquent job in the story that I'll write today. It goes into we know so terrorism, right? Terrorism is not something we're going to allow. Child pornography, not something they're going to allow. These are common sense things,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
Those should
Mm-hmm.
be removed, and we understand why, right? Do you remember the beheadings that they had of the when ISIS was first coming out?
Absolutely.
That shit's totally okay to black out, right? I mean, just because you do have children that are under 18 that are on there, we have to have some respect.
Mm-hmm.
However, your protections, right,
Mm-hmm.
end where you start editing. Be an editor. I have no problem with it. But then don't say that what's on your site keeps you
Mm-hmm.
free from harm.
That's right. That's right.
And so, anyway, I'll break that down. So expect a story about Section 230, and I'll
Yeah.
tie it in some of that digital stuff because I think it's an
Yeah.
important piece.
Yeah, the problem with this is though, is like I said, it's in Europe, it's spreading, right? So in America, they also put up a bill in America for censoring free speech for kids. You know what kids' platforms can get on, how they can get on it, et cetera, et cetera. The Democrats came back and said, well, they've just basically broken it down to mean nothing. But the point is, why are we censoring free speech for children? Yes, I understand the internet is all full of crazies. Yeah, you can get anything you want on the internet, but just think, how are you going to control that? The only way to control what the kids are seeing is by the parents controlling your children. Stop being your children's friend and start being the parent. Yes. That's what all I can say to people today. Stop being the children's friend and be their parent and start being a parent. And once you're a parent and you get away from the digital ID or all the online bullshit that's out there, maybe it's a lot easier for everybody, a lot easier for everybody if you are the parent. Yeah, put some controls in your life, put your controls back in your life, and take care of your children. Sit down, talk to them, cook them dinner, don't do fast food, arrange time to be with them. You guys can all work it out. And everybody says, oh Nana, I work too many hours. Well, so do I. Yeah, so did I, and so does everybody else. I mean, it's the most ridiculous arguments I've ever heard of, life is so much different now. Oh, fuck off. It's not different. It's just as hard now as it was then. Yeah. And just grow a pair and become a parent. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it. Nobody can convince me different, because, I was a working parent and I had 7 kids and I had to figure it out. If I could figure it out, they sure as hell can figure it out. Yeah. So, and I think it's a huge story that everybody needs to really watch coming up as to what they are going to do with the digital ID. And I want to know why the EU digital ID is being used on Meta, is being used on Instagram, is being used on TikTok, and is being used on all the other social media platforms except for Rumble and X. There you go. And they're suing Elon Musk for 120 million euros, I believe, for information on X, right?
Yep.
They're calling him, they have this big billboards around the UK and in the EU, basically saying, somebody put up some inappropriate sexual content that kids could get into. It's not Elon Musk that did that. And it's not Elon Musk's, it's not the company's fault people are ignorant and are want to break the law. It has nothing to do with the individual or the platform. It has to do with the people and the sickness of people today. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the harm they want to cause to others. And that's basically what it is. Isn't it all the same thing? They all want to hurt each other. It's like harm. Moon, the other day I went on this, I decided, and I don't normally do that and go on a show to debate people, right? So you go up on a show and they said, well, we have these questions, Nana, and we're going to get through the questions. We'll ask the questions. I said, okay, great. As long as you stick to the questions, I'd be happy to do it, right? First one comes out, you answer the question, and the next thing comes, what comes out of their mouths, Moon? Race. Everything is about race. I don't see race. I don't see color. I don't care if you're black, if you're white, if you're green, if you're purple. I don't care what the frig color you are. Brown. I don't care. Red. It doesn't matter, because you know why, Moon? You bleed the same red blood I bleed, right? You bear children the same way I bear children. If you're a woman, yeah. If you're a man,
Okay.
yeah, you're a man, right? All of you. There's no difference between us. The only difference between us is how we think, how we educate ourselves, how we take care of our responsibilities, and how we take care of our families. It's all about your educational value, isn't it? There isn't anything different about us. Somebody wants to be a carpenter and they're great using tools and skills, right? Somebody wants to be a lawyer and they're great at lawyering. And somebody wants to be a school teacher and they're great at teaching kids. But there is no difference between us. I still bleed red. You still bleed red. We are the same. And until people get that through their heads, I don't see where this race thing comes into. And then I was telling them the other day that, maybe, I'm a little older than most of these people up on TikTok and all these places. I'm old enough to be their mother, or some cases their grandmother. And I think to myself, when I went to school, it was when integration started, when
Yep.
they started integrating the classes. So that's when I went to school. And, and of course, at first it was a pushback. I'm a New Yorker. It was a pushback. It was like, oh, they can't do this. They sent half the white kids to the black school, half the black kids to the white school. And the school became integrated that year. I think I was in 3rd grade. I think it was 3rd grade,
Yep.
3rd or 4th grade, grade school when that happened. And, for the first couple of months, it was a little touchy-feely. Nobody liked anybody. It was a big thing. There was little fights in the bathroom and what do you call it? In the lunchroom. But within a few months, everybody integrated. Everybody was everybody's friend, and everybody got along, and life was grand, right? And I'll tell you, the best friend I've had my entire life, I think since 3rd grade, she's now an editor at the Chicago Tribune. Yes, she is a black woman, and we have been friends ever since, and I'm 62 years old. So I'm more than happy to tell people that there is no difference between her and I. The only difference is she chose a path in life, and I chose a path in life, and we are both educated in different realms, and she's wonderful, and I'm wonderful, and that's the end of that. Yeah? I don't understand where this race problem comes in. And everybody says, well, you don't have the same opportunities. You weren't taught the same. You didn't have the same education. Well, that's bullshit, because we all went to the same school together. We all sat in front of the same teacher. We all had the same education. Yes, it's what you take out of it when you went home. Did you study? Did you do the work? Did your parents help you? It all comes back to parenting your children. Not, stop being your children's best friend. Go ahead, Moon.
Funny thing, when I was listening to that, so you were in third grade, I was in kindergarten, and they called that program the Voluntary Ethnic Integration Program. And I was a part of that. And my longest childhood friend, Charles Johnson, he was bussed in from an inner city. I didn't get bussed out, right? And so we lived in a very affluent neighborhood in San Diego. And Charles was faster than I was. I met him in kindergarten. And we went to grade school from kindergarten, first, all the way through sixth grade. And we were the two premier athletes, and we battled each other for 7 years over who could run the fastest, who could throw the farthest, who could. We did what we did, right? And we became friends, but we drove each other to be better at whatever it was that we were doing. Not one time did him and I ever have a comment or an argument about skin color. And in fact, I joined him at Christ the King at his church. He had asked, he said, hey, you want to come to church with me this weekend? Absolutely. Where is it at? When we pulled up to the church, oh my God, right? My first introduction to what a ghetto was. And in Southeast San Diego, it was a ghetto. And so that was my first taste of what I felt to be uncomfortable, right? But because I went in and sat in church with him, whatever, right? We got the stares, we got the looks, we were in a different neighborhood. But I didn't understand what any of that meant. But there was something that told me I was in a different place. But Charles and I never had a problem, still don't to this day. And we never will, because we grew up in a time that we were exposed, when kind of what you were talking about. Sometimes the hiding our children from all of the things that are out there, the hate speech, pornography, the things that are online, blah, 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 and then they go find it on their own. I'm glad I did it a little differently. Is my kids got a computer, you do whatever you want. And they had a virus within 2 minutes, right? They went out to places that they shouldn't be. And viruses were a thing for us to deal with back in the 1998, Windows 98 to 2000-ish, right? It was a tough time online. But they were so introduced and didn't have somebody over their shoulder saying, you can't go look up, like you're doing this is the funny story, was my kid came home and said, I have to do a book report, and we read about beavers. I said, well, go look up beaver on the internet. Well, that was the wrong thing to go look up back in the day. And so, because once that window opens, like it early on, like 37 windows opened, and then you heard the screaming and yelling. It was just like, oh my God, what happened? I said, I just looked up beaver. Okay.
What did you do? What did you do?
So, but that's the education, right? That parents and children get.
But isn't it funny how the society changed, right? So when I was a kid, like I said, I grew up in New York City. I played with the Jewish kids, the Polish kids, the black kids, the Hispanic kids, the Chinese kids, the people from Japan, the Russian kids. We were a big melting pot that lived in my neighborhood. We all played together. We played together after school. We went to all after school activities and curricular things. Depending on your religion, some people didn't come out on Saturdays and some people did. Some people didn't come out on Sundays, but after Sunday dinner, all the kids played together. I think that's where I got my love for travel, was when I was a kid, because all my friends were from someplace else. And, we used to go to their homes for Sunday dinners or Saturday nights or whatever it was. And their culture was different from my culture, and how cool it would be to learn everybody else's culture and the difference in the foods and all the different things when I was a kid. And I think that's where I seriously learned that, it would be fun to see all these new places and understand how everybody melds together and why we're the way we are, and etc. And I think that was my fascination for wanting to get out in the world and see things and try different things, And I don't understand today why there is such bigotry about I do understand such bigotry, but I don't understand what happened is where I should go to, right? I think personally, in the mid to late 70s, when I want to say the United States opened up to everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think in the mid to late 70s is where everything changed because, when I was a young kid, your family was all together. We were in a 20 block radius. You can go to your aunt's house, your uncle's house, your grandparents' house, your cousins' houses. Everybody was like within a 20-mile radius. And then when, the late 70s came around, people started moving. Texas became the boom state, and part of your family, some of the kids or your aunts, your uncles, or whatever, they moved to Texas, or they moved to this state, or they moved to that state out west, right, or south. And the family chain got smaller and smaller and smaller, and then people started moving around the country, and you no longer had that. When you moved to a new state, you no longer had that family atmosphere, the people around you. You became closed in. You became. It was a complete change of society. I don't know. What do you think?
Yes, and so the 70s, that for those that didn't grow up in the 70s, boy, you missed probably the greatest decade. And people from the 50s probably say the same thing, right? But the 70s was such a fun time because we came out of that 60s hippie movement, peace, love, and granola, and then the sexual revolution prior to the 80s, which was kind of boy, that had its own issues. But
Yes.
I absolutely remember the 70s being, I could walk to my neighbor's house, not
Mm-hmm.
knock on the back door. Her name was Aunt Joanna. And
Mm-hmm.
I could go in and grab a cup of sugar, milk, or just start eating. Right. So it was a different time where trust, you knew your neighbor, right? And I walked to school, right? I was walking to school in kindergarten, first and second grade. Our main street that went to our school was called Chatsworth. And
Mm-hmm.
it was the busy street, and you got up to the corner and you learned how to cross the street. And parents weren't holding your freaking hand like you grew up if you fell down and skinned your knee, right? You brushed that shit off. If you were thirsty, you drank out of a hose.
Mm-hmm.
And the 70s was an awesome time. We learned about gravity in the 1970s, not because of Isaac Newton, but because we built bike ramps that we would hit at full throttle and see how far we could fly on a bicycle. And when our face went through the handlebar and you lost teeth, you went home and you just said, I'm bleeding all over the place, and you're an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's how we learned about gravity. We learned gravity because we climbed trees and fell out of them.
Mm-hmm.
It was not somebody holding an apple and giving us the theory, right? It was, we did things that were crazy. Our parents were a little bit different too. It was either start cleaning the house or get your ass outside and be home when the lights come on the street lights, right?
Mm-hmm.
They didn't know where we were. There were no dog
Oh,
tags.
banana seats on the bicycles. There you go.
Banana seats on bicycle. Absolutely. If you haven't had a banana seat to slap you in the rear end after coming off of some preconceived or scrap pile that you went through and found some wood in an old chair and built a ramp, we figured out what ramps worked as and didn't. If you got a flexible piece of plywood, you hit that, you went over the handlebars versus launching on your bike.
In
We
today's, yeah, but we used to be able to have fun. Now, today's society, you can't let your kids out the friggin' front door. I mean, so what the hell happened? I mean, I remember when I was a kid, it was 8 o'clock in the morning. My mother threw us all out the house, right? And
Yep.
be home for dinner. We had dinner at 5 o'clock. Be home 5 minutes before, because if you're late, your father will have a fit. That was it. We were out the door all day. We didn't have a packed lunch. We didn't have water bottles then. We didn't even have a nickel in our pocket. We got on our bikes and we were gone all day. We were from here to here to here. Me being from the city, I used to go around and, pick up all the cans and the glass bottles and take them back to the store. We'd get 10, 15, 20 cents a day, man. We thought we were the cat's pajamas, right? We all had nickels and pennies in our pocket, and we'd take off all day. We'd find things to do. We'd go to the parks. We'd play play ball. We'd, go to the school parks we used to have. Now, like I said, you can't let your kids out the front door unsupervised. Got to watch everything.
Put them on a leash. You seen this shit? Kids are on a leash.
I have. Yep. Yep.
Oh my goodness. All right, let's
What's
go
your
throw out
story?
the I put up an article this week on regarding Adam Schiff. Did you get a chance to look at it?
I did. I saw it.
So Adam Schiff, and most people may or may not understand the Logan Act and what that is, right? There's one president at a time. The executive branch is the one that does tariffs and trade. And we've talked about this, ad nauseum for decades, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Adam Schiff has decided that he wants to communicate with the prime minister or one of the upper echelons out there in Quebec. And then 3 days ago, put out a post about ending tariffs because California winemakers are feeling the pinch, right?
Mm-hmm.
He has met there's 5 thresholds that go into the Logan Act, right? You have to be a citizen, you have to communicate with a government, and so in those 5, Adam hits every mark, every mark. This is an open and shut case, right? This is, you did it. Here's your words. It's on social media. We have communication that you've directly done through written correspondence.
Right.
We've had this law on the books, the Logan Act, since the 1700s.
Yes.
Okay. How many prosecutions have we had in the Logan Act? None. Zero. So my question is, if you take an oath to protect the Constitution, right? You're in Congress and you do this. Why can't we do the bare minimum here and say, we understand that you've, right, shot yourself in the foot, but why then would we just ignore the law?
There you go.
I do. I have a real problem with, not because it's Adam Schiff. I don't like Adam Schiff. I wouldn't piss on the son bitch if he was burning. But I don't care that it's Adam Schiff, right? I've got a real problem with Congress being is that these are the elected representatives that we have sent to be the best and brightest to protect the Constitution and to adhere to the laws therein, right? And if we're not going to at least make mention of this,
right?
Like if Trump was in Congress and had done this,
right,
there'd be riots.
Sure.
And I don't care that this is a Republican Democrat thing, right? I want to see the gentleman that was on the submarine that took pictures of his surroundings. He was a nuclear engineer.
I remember.
And this was right after the Hillary case where she said, like, with a cloth after her server issue, right?
Right.
James Comey comes out and does a press conference and says, I don't see anything wrong here. We're not going to prosecute. No reasonable prosecutor. Well, that's not your job, Jim. Your job is to take a look at the facts and give it to a prosecutor, right? You're the director of the FBI. You don't prosecute. So these are those instances where I'm looking at Congress, and I think you've heard me just beat this drum. Since 1776 to 1998, the United States created $5 trillion worth of debt. And they did that through budget, right? Pro formas, the way that Congress would go look at 12 appropriations. They would vote on them, like Lindsey Graham as a committee chair in the budget, right? 12 appropriations, get those done by September 30th, have a signature on it. That's how we spend money. Post 1998, we have done continuing resolutions. We're almost at the 30th year of Congress not doing a budget. We're at $39 trillion, but wait, the math said from 1776 to 1998, we added $5 trillion, but in the last 28, we've added 34. And we haven't done a budget since 1998.
Thanks, Benita.
So Congress, to me, is where the problem is. But what do people cry about? What do people, right, saying the problem is in government?
Oh, it's all Donald Trump.
It's all Donald Trump. Now, when it was our turn, it was Barack Obama, tan suit, the Affordable Care Act. You go back to 2000, hanging chads. We've got 911. We've got the Iraq War. Then you get Obama coming in, right? We've got TARP. We've got tan suit, ACA. Trump comes in. Now we've got collusion, and we've got Servergate and Crossfire Hurricane, right? We know what every problem is based on the year,
Mm-hmm.
and nobody ever looks at here's the debt. And now
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden we're talking about what? Affordability.
Mm-hmm.
Can we afford to keep 535 numpties, dumb shit sons of bitches that make $175,000 a year and won't even go and do the bare minimum of a budget?
Nope.
I don't
Nope.
think so. I think we really are. We can focus on a much bigger problem. Not that affordability isn't an issue. In fact, the
Mm-hmm.
housing bill. Are you familiar with this housing bill that we just passed? That the Democrats are out championing because Trump didn't sign it and it turned into law. Of
I'm
the
familiar.
So the most important thing that Elizabeth Warren and the left was screaming about in this housing bill is how it takes private equity and the billionaires out from being able to buy up your neighborhoods. Have you been
Yeah,
listening to this bullshit?
I have.
I went through and did the research on this, and it's not my opinion. It's Bank of America and it's all of the studies that were done that in this bill you become a large investor based on if you own 350 homes or more. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If you own between 1 and 349 homes, do you know what percentage the investor level is between there versus the owning 1,000 and being private equity and big owner?
It's like I don't know. I know what the private equity is, but go ahead, tell us.
Yeah, private equity and the billionaires own 3% of the market.
Yeah, just less than. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they own, and this is the number that they'll throw at you. These
Mm-hmm.
big investors, there's 30 of them,
Mm-hmm.
right? They own 450,000 homes, and that sounds like a lot, right? That's just they own 450,000 homes, and then you go, but 450,000 of what, Nana? Oh, 15.5 million homes are in the investor portfolios and in the rental market. So the PE, right? Your private equity and billionaires own 3%. So they wrote a bill,
Mm-hmm.
right? That says we've solved the problem of big investors coming in and buying your neighborhoods up. But wait a minute, you wrote a bill that keeps 3% from doing what the other 97% can still fucking do?
Yeah,
Wait a
exactly.
minute. Wait, I'm
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
how much is that going to change tomorrow? So the same people can still do the same shit, but we've told the billionaires that you can't purchase the 3% that you own?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Wow.
Yep. Crazy. There's nothing in there. It's actually the rest of the bill is basically a fix to what the Democrats had already done years before. That's all it is. And what they have you read the whole bill, right?
I did.
Yeah. So all it's done is fix what the Democrats had been doing years before to put it now basically to an equal footing as to how the Affordable Care Act, the Affordable Bill works. Yeah, for a house for uh, I'm trying to think of the words. Moon. Um, what did the Democrats do back in the day? I can't remember the exact wording. Anyway, back in the day, the Democrats basically put in all the dirty shit that's going on with the housing market and was going on with the housing market. And now they're going, well, that doesn't work. So we need to take that away. So this is a good bill. Yeah. Because it fixes all these regulations and rules and garbage that we put in years ago and puts everybody back on an even keel. That's the only reason they wanted the bill.
I've got to,
Are you with me?
you know me, I'm a numbers wonk, right? I get in
Mm-hmm.
and I just dig into these things. And I started asking some questions about this. Let's say we need 3 million homes, 5 million homes. It doesn't matter what the number is, but I'll use 3 million for this exercise. That if we decide that we're going to turn the spigot on to create 3 million homes, we're going to put pressure on lumber. We're going to put pressure on copper. We're going to put pressure on whatever the roofing materials are. We're going to need people to make 3 million homes. So the services, the material, and the labor, right? We don't have the ability to just pull out of thin air right?
No.
Any of those, right? So
Mhm.
where are we going to get the material and the labor from to go
Mhm.
build 3 million homes? Current
Mhm.
inventory, right?
Mhm.
Current employee stocks. What
Mhm.
does that do to the price of each? They're going to fucking go through the roof. If you're in construction and you're building underwater typewriter maintenance facilities,
Mhm.
whatever you're doing, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
If one of these large home developers comes out and
Mhm.
says, "We just got a contract with the government to build 1 million homes,"
Mhm.
right? What do you think these contractors that used to build homes are going to do? They're going to be like, "Sweet, I'm going to go out and get me a F-150. I'm going to throw a ladder on that son of a bitch, and I'm going to go back and do what I know how to do."
Mhm.
We've taken out the previous employment roles of the Hispanics that were here that are great at construction. They're great at concrete. They're hardworking. If we move those people out, we're going to go replace them with people that are, I'm not going to say they're less skilled. Americans are talented sons of bitches. But one of the things that I worked next to, right, when I owned a tile company, is that all of my concrete guys, and that's what we do, they were all Hispanic because they were very good with that material. They were
Mhm.
born and raised with concrete. That's how they built their nation, and they're
Mhm.
very good with it. And they'll carry 2 buckets full of something and not complain about it. And they're
Mhm.
strong little sons of bitches, right?
Sure.
So if we're going to go back into a heavy labor, right? The labor
Mhm.
costs are going to go up, material costs are going to go up. Are we saving money building houses if we just go flood the market?
Nope.
No, because you're going to have and that's the weird part is that we're going to raise the costs on what it costs to build them, but because there's more inventory, we'll drive the cost down a little bit, right? Kind of an offset, but we're not trying to offset shit right now. We're saying it's unaffordable. So what's the in your mind if you're NanaCrass and you've got your club sitting next to you that I've felt before, right? Is what would be a solution to bring down housing costs tomorrow?
You know, there's so many things, Moon. I think you know, I had this conversation with Blackjack just like a week or so ago, because we were looking at, we're talking about the younger generation being able to buy homes. Let me ask you a question first, 'cause since you're a numbers guy.
Sure.
How many people? How many people the age between from their 20s to their 30s are actually buying homes now?
They aren't. The average
They
median home
are.
buyer,
They
well,
are. That's the
okay,
that's the part that they are, Moon. And so I wanted to go back to there because it was a pretty good percentage. It came out to be like 26, 32%. Yes, of the younger
okay, so
generation that are actually buying homes.
yeah,
Okay,
the average,
so
right?
the average,
So
right?
I'll clear that up. The average home buyer right now is like 38, right? So
Right.
yeah, you're right. That it's not that they're not buying. You're correct.
Correct. But the younger kids are buying. They are buying homes. It may not be traditionally the same way we would buy. We would have bought a home. We got married. We bought a home. We had kids. Whatever. Some of them are buying homes together. Whatever the situation may be, or just some families, young families, are buying homes. And I have to look at that 28% or 32% of the younger generation, and I think to myself, wait a minute. If there's a will, there's a way.
Hmm.
If there's a will, there's a way. So I look at it this way. I think society has it so friggin' backwards now, okay? Because the young kids, they go to work. On their way to work, they stop at the coffee shop. They buy a $7 to $10 coffee in the morning, okay? They don't pack their lunch to go to have lunch at work. They go out and they buy their lunch and spend another $10 to $20, depending on where they're going for lunch with the lunch crowd. Correct?
Yep.
All right. Then they go home. And instead of going home and cooking a meal for yourself, which you can do for practically nothing if you know how to shop properly, um, they order in, right? Ding
Hmm.
dong doorbell, right? So in a day's time, let's say they made $300 a day, okay, at work. Okay, we'll go, yeah, $300 a day. They spent 50 of it, yeah, on bullshit. If they were saving $50 a day, they would have enough money to put down as a down payment on a home. They can afford a mortgage. They can afford life. They are not making the sacrifices we did when we were buying homes. So nobody, I understand a house is $400,000 and you need X amount of money down to get the house. And yes, the interest rates are higher. And so this is the argument I got into with Blackjack. And I said, well, my first house, was 17.25% interest. And he said, well, it doesn't matter because the house was cheaper then and your income was, it does matter because it's all the same. It
You made
doesn't
less.
matter. It's all
Yes.
the same. Yeah, it doesn't matter if the dollar value is different. It's still all the same. We still had to work hard, save our money, find the down payment, buy the house, and make the mortgage payments. Yes or no? It's the same principle.
Yes, it
So
is.
I'm not going on numbers. I'm going on principle. So to me, if you take all the garbage out of what the young generation does today and the spending and the not spending, well then, we lost you.
There we go.
Oh, there you go.
Right.
If you take all the things that the kids do today and the spending of money instead of saving the money, and then you say, oh, Nana, but they don't make enough. They're only making $15 or $20 an hour. Man, I was majorly happy making $20 an hour back in the day. I don't know about you. If someone was going to pay me $20 an hour, I was like, holy shit, right?
Yep.
There's ways and means that you can do much better for yourself if you want to. That's the whole point. Everybody thinks something should be given to them. This is the society we're in. This is the socialism part we're in. This is the way the kids are thinking today, that I should hand you something. It's the the participation trophy error. And this is what's wrong between what parents are teaching their kids today. It's hard work. It's dedication. If you want something bad enough, you're going to go out and pay for it. You're going to do it. It's not me that's going to do it for you. And I agree that things are higher, but I also agree that they aren't any different in reality to what it was when I was young. Sorry, you might think differently. You could put math to math to math. It doesn't matter. It still boils down to the same thing, doesn't it?
It does. And in fact, when I went to go buy my first home, I was on my second child really quickly. And so we found a little outskirt community called Poway, California. It's a little bit northeast of San Diego, right? Because the home prices were a little cheaper. I drove down this road on Olive Tree Lane and I found a cool little house and it said for sale by owner. I went in and I talked to the owner and asked if there was any room to negotiate. What was the asking price? We didn't have an appraisal on the house yet, so we didn't know what the value was. And so the lady said, well, here's what I want to do. Here's what I want. And I said, if I can go get you 80% of your money tomorrow of what the home appraises for, do an invisible second. I said, I'm ready to purchase this right now because I'm the one that's looking for the assistance. And she said, what did you just ask me? And I said,
Yeah.
perfect, right? So here's the scenario. Let's get an appraisal on the house. It appraised for $200,000 at the time. And I said, I can go get $160,000 from a bank tomorrow because that'll be 80% loan to value. Any bank will do that. Then I'll have you write a second mortgage that'll be an invisible second. We're not going to record it. You hang on to it, and I'll balloon that payment in 3 years. And she said, so I'll get $160,000 tomorrow. I said, you'll get $160,000 tomorrow as soon as the loan closes, right? She said, okay, because she wanted like 170, right? And I said, well, I'm going to give you, right, a lot more than that because the 20% that was a second on that one, right, took it over that asking price. So she had a motivation. She's going to carry a second that pays her more, but I get in because I've only got to go borrow 80%, which you could do with pretty shitty credit, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
She cashes out. I have an invisible second. Property values is going up in Southern California. I do some repair work. And a year and a half later, I actually bought her out on that second, right? Because the property value had gone up. I was a contractor and I improved the property. I got into my first home, no money out of pocket, right? I didn't have great credit, but a bank, because it was taking less risk at 80% loan to value, said, we have 20% collateral in the house. Of course, we'll let you borrow money, right? I just found one as I was driving down the street here the other day. I saw a for sale by owner and said, I got to check that out, right? They wanted $8,000 down and you're a homeowner. in Oklahoma, $150,000. It was a 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath,
Okay.
right?
Mhm.
So on a property like that, I can go get a mortgage on a 30-year. I'm probably somewhere around $700.
Yeah.
If you can't afford a $700 mortgage,
Mhm.
get the fuck out of here. You have no business wanting to go buy a home right now.
Exactly. No, I
So
understand it's different in different states and etc. I do
California,
understand.
yeah, it's a $2 million house that I can get, right? Because that's just, most
Yeah.
people don't understand. When I left California, I had a 3,200 square foot house. It was on a 50 by 100 lot, which is typical in California. I had a $1.3 million mortgage on that. It was a $7,300 a month piece of change. I came out to Oklahoma and bought 9,000 square feet in a 3-story Victorian on 5 acres for $289,000.
There you go.
Right? That's what I got tired of. And most people don't understand the history of moon math. That's moon math
Yeah.
is 7,300 a month or 1,200 a month, which is what I was paying here. My kids got to go through school. They went to Oklahoma University. They went through the local college there. I have got one working in the government out here. One's a HR guru, and then we have a business that's doing something else in the salad industry. I've talked about it a little bit, but I did not want to stick around in California when the mortgage market crash came because the dagger still really hasn't hit. It's still coming down. I have not seen anything in California from 2008 through 2026 that tells me that I'm glad that, right, I'm not heading back.
Mhm.
It has not changed. The property values are insane, the burdensome regulations, and that's not worth it to me to be able to go down and watch a sunset, right, at my favorite place in the world, Sunset Cliffs, and watch the waves breaking over the rocks.
Mhm.
It's not worth the money.
Ain't happening. Ain't happening. Yeah. It's just crazy all the things that are going on. But yeah, that's how. I'm sorry, Moon. I have to look at it that way. I understand. I understand. Because I have kids and I have grandkids. You know, my kids um, um, all own their own homes now. They worked hard to be able to own their own homes. They all own their own homes. Now I have grandkids, right? They're of age now where they're finishing uni, maybe get married in a few years or own their own homes too, or they're now starting to leave the family nest, I should say, right?
Yep.
All starting to get out and go out on their own, whether they rent an apartment or whatever they're going to do in life. Now my grandkids are getting to that age, I mean, I have some that are 17, 18, 20, going on 21, that are just finishing uni and etc. And going to go out on their happy trails. And each of them were taught the exact same things I was taught when I was a kid, from their parents and from me. And it was basically work hard and you will thrive. And they've all decided to go into different fields, and and they will prosper. Yeah, they will prosper because they're the type of individuals that learned from home and through education that this is how the world works, not the way the give me crowd and the what do you want to call them, participation trophy crowd wants to see it. And you can't tell me that they can't go out. Now, my littlest one, the oldest one, he'll be 21. So he is now, he's going to be a property owner. I think his home closes in about 3 weeks. So he will own his first home at 21 years old. How come he can own his first home? I didn't give him the money. His father didn't give him the money. His mother didn't give him the money. How does he own in his first home at 21 years old?
Man, sounds like he figured out some part of the system that he got
He
to.
worked hard. He worked
Yay.
hard. And guess what he does? He saves his money. He's not out all the time going to the pubs and boozing it up with his friends and going out for dinner and ordering Uber Eats. And, he went out and saved his money so that he had money for the down payment. He kept his credit good. He bought a car. He understands the value of what he has. Yes. And now he's going to own his first home. Will he have any furnishings in that first home? Hell no. You know what?
Well,
He did good.
it sounds like he made some priority choices
He did. Isn't that amazing?
What? Oh,
Isn't that
that's weird.
amazing? There you go. And he's going to own his first home. Is it the best first home you've ever seen? No, but we didn't have the best first homes we've ever seen either. So, does it need a little bit of work here and a little bit of work there? Sure, it does. Does it need some upgrading here and some upgrading there? Sure, it does. And what's his little brother do? His little brother's going to university because he wants to be a home builder, a contractor. So, what's his little brother doing? So, he's got his little brother over there already.
Practicing.
Exactly.
He's practicing.
Planning out the new home, So he's got his little brother over there who's still in uni, and he's going to uni because he wants to be a contractor, and he goes through uni there, and he learns, between bricklaying and electrical, plumbing, and engineering, and all the little things you learn there, and he will be there, carpentry, right? And he has an uncle that's a master. What do you think his uncle is? He's a master carpenter. Yeah. So you know what?
Beautiful.
He chose wisely. So he'll have his uncle come over and give him a helping hand, and he'll have his brother come over and give him a helping hand. And before you know it, he'll have a nice, a beautiful, beautiful home by the time he's finished with it. Right? He's 21 years old and can buy his own home. Now, if my grandson can do it without any help from anybody, nobody gave him help. We told the kid, just like you tell everybody else, get out there, use your brain, go to school, get an education, do the best you can. Yeah. And nobody can argue with that fact. And so he did. So you tell me why other parents can't do the same thing.
Well, they can, but they choose not to. That's why I was giving you the priority fun part.
Yeah.
So we hit the hour mark. That's what I wanted to do with you today.
Okay.
But here's an update, right? I was looking at the subscribers, and that we crossed 700.
Oh, yay!
And we crossed 700 from 420 to July. So we've been just under 3 months. So for those of you that are watching today that read the stuff that Nana and I put out, man, I wish I could tell you just how grateful I am to see that people are coming over. You know what I haven't seen on Pen to Power on the Substack page? I haven't seen the visceral ugliness that I have on other places.
No, I see it on some of the stories I put up. I get some really crap comments, but
but they're few and far between. I mean, I get the one-off guy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen, now something I would like to see a little bit more for those of you that are viewing and those of you that are subscribers. Like, again, thank you very much. Reposting, but commenting, right? If you like something that you see, say it, right? Just say I disagree or I agree. The dialogue, right, kind of helps that the algorithm, right? And we'd really like to be able to hit that 1,000 mark before too long. So if you like what you're reading, share that with somebody else that might like it, and hopefully we bring them on also, because you all know that subscribing is free. We'd love it if you saw value in it and you want to come buy my lunch, have at it. But that's not why we're doing this. At some point in time, that may take the turn, but for right now, we're trying to get you information that's unfiltered and that isn't so partisan that you would use it for a receipt in a live, right? Because our stuff kind of goes down the middle of the road, and it could be used by either side.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You've seen stuff that I put up there. I call you and say I got some unflattering shit, right? Because I'm a Republican, right? Don't get it twisted, folks. I've been a Republican my whole life. I'm going to be a Republican tomorrow, but I don't write with a bias. And I don't try to. And I will tell you, if there's something that I feel is going to be unflattering, I put it in there and I go, I'm not trying to make a determination where you should take my opinion and use it as your own. But here's some information that you should take with you. I think that's important. I rode the seeds to what I dislike about Trump on the investing into companies. That's my position, right? You like it? Great. You don't? I don't give a fuck. Right? This is how I see it. And you do the thing too as a truth with teeth, right? You've got some biting analysis. I read it and I go, woof, that's not where I'm at, but we're not here to soothe each other, right?
No, we think opposite. That's why it works well. We don't think the same. Everybody has an opinion, and I try to keep a lot of opinion out and just put facts in. And you either agree with the facts or not, and you can go look them up because they're all sourced. So, and everybody's free to make their own choices and their own opinions on things. But knowing the facts and knowing where to find them is the most important thing. Yeah.
100%.
So,
And I hope everybody has learned something. It's Sunday. It's your family day. And thank you for the hour. It's always fun just to kind of pop in. The Substack thing's a little different. But for those of you that stuck around with us for an hour, again, heartfelt thank you. Nana, thanks for popping in and doing an update. And let's just keep it rolling. Let's get to 1,000.
You're welcome. Thanks, Moon. See you later.
Have a beautiful day.
A great Sunday, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for everything.
And
bye.
Rest in peace, Lindsey Graham.
I see your daughter up there. Hi, Kay.
Oh, no. That's not the daughter.
Oh, that's not. Who is that?
That's my mom.
Oh, hello. Oh, hello, Mom. How are
Mom
you?
Geezer is still out in San Diego. So that's pretty cool to see that she has popped in. Boy, I better keep my lies down to a minimum if I'm being fact checked by Mom.
Better watch out. Better watch out. She'll be telling us the truth now. Oh, Mom. Now I got your number, Mom. I know how to get in touch with you.
She does not hold back at all.
I know.
I learned a lot from a single mom going through the 70s, the ERA bullshit and what have you. I learned a lot from a very strong, independent woman who raised 2 kids through a period that was almost impossible for a single woman to do. So much love to you, Mom.
Thanks for. Kay. All right. Bye, honey. Talk to you later.
You guys signing off. See you later.
Have a great Sunday.
Peace.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.